Hi everyone, my name is Bryce Stepaniuk, and this is my interview task number 2. So for my interview task number 1, I talked with a longtime family friend of mine, Adam Green, and he owns a company that imports and exports various types of nuts, seeds, and dried fruits in bulk from all over the world. At the end of the interview, he asked me to look into a foolproof solution for preventing business email compromise cyber attacks because his company experiences them quite often and have even fallen victims to these at, at certain times. So the challenge is preventing two types of business email compromise attacks. The first attack is called the supplier spoof, and that is when a hacker spoofs the supplier's email extension by copying it almost exactly, but having a slight difference in it. So for example, if a supplier's email extension is at abc_company.com, the spoof email extension would probably be at abc-company.com. So as you can see, unless you're really looking for a difference, it would be extremely hard to notice one. The second attack is called the infiltrated supplier, and it is much more difficult to identify and prevent because the hacker will literally take over the supplier's actual email account without the supplier even knowing, and then will communicate with you directly. And you will have no way of knowing that you're not actually talking to the supplier because the email account and extension will be exactly the same. Preventing these types of cyber attacks is of utmost importance to all companies today, whether they operate domestically or internationally. That is because these cyber attacks are becoming much more frequent and much more costly for businesses and will continue to. For example, the FBI received more than 19,000 business email compromise complaints in 2020, compared to just 2,400 in 2014. Additionally, the losses in 2020 were reported at $1.8 billion, while the losses in 2014 were still just at $226 million. These numbers reflect the increase in frequency of attacks and cost towards companies when they become victims of such attacks. Adam also said that if you become a victim to a business email compromise attack, the recovery process is ineffective as most of the time you will not be able to recover your money. That is why it is really urgent to develop a foolproof solution towards stopping these types of attacks. However, unfortunately, when researching such a solution, I could not find a foolproof solution that would 100% prevent business email compromise attacks from occurring. However, that does not mean that business email compromise attacks cannot be stopped. When reading about what the FBI, SEC, and Area 1 Security had to say for prevention tips on these attacks, I was able to put together a good amount of suggestions for Adam that would be very effective in preventing a business email compromise attack from occurring. The first is to install an intrusion detection system. And an intrusion detection system flags emails from, from domain extensions that are very similar but slightly different to a supplier company email. So for example, if the supplier company email extension was at abc_company.com, it would flag emails from the extension at abc-company.com. Another suggestion is that when responding to emails, you should always use the forward option instead of the reply option, and to type in the email that you know to be correct for that person. That is because if it were a spoof attack and you hit the reply button, you would then be communicating with the hacker directly. But if you use the forward option and then type in the supplier's email that you know to be correct, the supplier will then see that original email and can say, hold up, wait, I never sent that. And you guys can identify it as a spoof attack and stop it from occurring. I think that the most effective strategy towards preventing business email compromise attacks is to use a two-step verification process. And so that is, in addition to confirming a transaction over email, you then would call up your supplier with a previously given phone number, not one mentioned in any such email, and then verify it over the phone. And you can additionally make this more secure by requiring the supplier to read a previously established verification code to you to confirm all of these types of transactions. Another tip I gave Adam is to incentivize his suppliers to implement a two-factor authentication system for their business accounts. So a two-factor authentication system requires two pieces of information from a user to log in. So user would need to give a password and a dynamic PIN, just like we need to do with Duo Mobile to log into my LMU now. The reason I say that he should incentivize his suppliers to do so is because two-factor authentication systems can be very expensive. So by incentivizing his suppliers through money or other type of rewards, they will then do it. And also, even if it costs your company a little bit of money to pay for the authentication system or give them other payments, it is overall worth it because the cost of having a business email compromise attacks be successful against your company can be astronomical towards your business. Another tip that I had for Adam is to use dual controls to initiate payments. And so that means that someone initiates the payments over email and gets them ready to go. But then before they're sent out, someone has to give it the okay. This makes it so that an additional set of eyes is looking and seeing if it is a business email compromise attack or if it's a legitimate request. So it helps with the verification process. Another suggestion that I had for Adam is to always be familiar with the habits of your suppliers and buyers. And what I mean by this is to know when your suppliers typically request payment from you and when your buyers typically request a new supply shipment from you and their typical urgency when issuing such requests. So, for example, if they're asking for payment at a very unusual time, you definitely need to verify such a transaction. Or if they're extremely urgent for a payment or a new batch of supplies when they normally are not, you should definitely verify it with them because that's a massive red flag in the industry. And the last suggestion that I had for Adam is to familiarize and train his employees with these strategies. Because even if he's very adept in them and follows them, if an employee does not and falls victim to a business email compromise attack, it can still prove to be extremely costly towards the company. So unfortunately, when giving Adam these suggestions, he thought they were all very good, but he already uses most of these business email compromise prevention strategies in his business today. But he did say that he had not heard of incentivizing suppliers to implement two-factor authentication systems, and he thought that it could be a very good strategy. So I hope to hear from him that he one day does use it and that hopefully it is in fact effective at stopping business email compromise attacks. And he did have one suggestion for me, which is that instead of having a verification code to confirm transactions, you should have your supplier repeat back a memory that you two share. And this is because a hacker cannot get access to memory in any such way. But if a hacker does an account takeover and you write down a verification code on your computer, a hacker could then possibly access it and then use it to still verify a transaction, even if it's going to a hacker. And an example he gave me of him using this strategy is that a couple years ago, one of his suppliers made an unusual change in transaction documents. And so he picked up the phone to verify the change and he called them up and he said, "Hey, did you mean to do this?" And the supplier said, "Yes, like those are my updated transaction documents." And then Adam said, "Okay, just to confirm, can you repeat to me a memory that we had from this cocktail party back in 2015?" And so the memory was that at the cocktail party, they had a $2,000 bet over who would become the next president, Donald Trump or Hillary Clinton. The supplier predicted Donald Trump and then later won it, and Adam predicted Hillary Clinton. But the supplier was able to remember that memory because it stuck with both of them greatly as he won $2,000 from it and was able to verify and confirm that it was him. And then the transaction went through perfectly. And then in response to Plemena's prediction that cyber attacks would have increased over COVID, he said that he did not personally experience such an increase. But when I researched this, I did see that companies buying lots of COVID protection supplies experienced a great increase in cyber attacks. And so just to sum it up, the overall solution that I have for business email compromise attacks is to slow the process down verify everything, and read everything over carefully, because there is no technical solution that will 100% stop it, but it can be prevented through your careful steps and paying close attention to everything. Thank you very much, and I hope I taught you guys something and you guys enjoyed my presentation. Thank you.